All right, what's going on, guys? So today I want to go over a couple of exercises that I utilize for my combat sport athletes, my MMA guys and girls, to increase their ability to be strong in their core or in their trunk and also in their back. Now, why I do this is because, again, we want to make sure that we have the best functionality and overall strength in those planes of motion. So first and foremost, before we go into the exercises, we got to go over the focus points. Now, for the first one, we want to make sure that we're increasing that oblique sling from the anterior and posterior, right? So from the front to the back. We're going to be working in that oblique line, and we're going to be working the muscles. In the anterior oblique sling, we're going to be working the exterior and interior obliques going into the adductor complex, so the inside of the thigh there, because that's going to help with flexion in that oblique line there, and you'll see why in a moment. Right? When you're talking about the posterior, we're going to be working into the lats, so the latissimus dorsi. Then we're going to be following that along into the TL fascia, the thoracolumbar fascia, the middle line of the body inside that back there when you go across the body there. And then you're going to go to the opposite side glute, or the butt there. That's the biggest muscle of the body. That's the strongest muscle, and that's going to help with hip extension. So we want to work that too as well. All right? Now, again, going from there, we want to work on rotation and anti-rotation in that transverse plane, in the transverse abdominals, because that's going to help us with greater force production in your hooks, in your overhand throws, and in your kicks. So we want to make sure that we're increasing the muscular capacity to contract and also the force production there in that range of motion and in that plane of motion, right? Then we also want to work on kinesthetic awareness, or proprioception, where your body is in space. So again, we want to make sure that we're increasing our body awareness, and you'll see that with all the tactile cues I'm going to be going over with these exercises. All right. Then I also want to make sure that I'm maintaining the 4 Ps. Now, what are the 4 Ps? All right, you're looking at posture, all right? So overall structural functionality, all right? The ability to maintain a solid posture, because if you don't have the proper posture, you're not gonna be able to breathe right. You're not gonna be able to put yourself in the right position. That goes into the next one. To increase force production, to evolve as a martial artist. So we wanna make sure that we have that correct posture first and foremost. Then we're gonna work on the positioning, right? That foundational setting, right? When you're going in through jiu-jitsu, like a lot of my jiu-jitsu practitioners, they know that the position goes first, right? You have to set up in the right position before you go for the submission. So again, it goes hand in hand with the exercises that we choose, all right? Then we're gonna work on the placement, all right? So now we need to know, again, awareness where your body is in space, just like we talked about up here with the kinesthetic awareness, all right? Then lastly, we wanna work on the pattern, all right? The kinematics, that's the geometry of motion. So again, I want to make sure that my body is set in the right place, and then I'm moving the limbs appropriately to contract the muscles that I need to get stronger, to build muscle, to enhance my performance as an MMA fighter. All right, let's get into the exercises. Let's do it. All right, so for the first exercise is going to be a dumbbell bird dog row with a mechanical feedback. So we're going to use the band here. I got this certain type of technique from Andrei Aguilar over at Functional Patterns, so shout out to him. What we're trying to accomplish here again is that anti-rotation. So we want to make sure that I'm wrapping the band around, right? And then from there, I'm going to strap it through that anterior oblique sling, wrap it around my body here so that it pulls me into that rotation. It's going to allow my lat to have to engage here. And then as I go to roll it through, and then I just step in here. All right, so now as I'm here, right, as you can see, it's trying to pull me into that rotation. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll with the side where the band is pulling me into rotation. So now I'm here, and then the opposite side, right, I have to squeeze my glute on this opposite side to allow for that tightness and stability in my back so I don't rotate or fall. So watch how we do it. So I'm gonna set up here, and I put my knee down on the bench. Same knee, same arm is gonna roll. Then from there, I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze my glute, flex my toe, flex my ankle here into dorsiflexion, lock my body out, lat is tight on this side, and then I'm going to row and control the movement. And then you can get that feedback there to drive your glute up, drive that hip into extension as I'm pulling through into that row using my lat here. One thing you don't wanna do is make sure that you are keeping your shoulder down and back when you go to row, and you're not using that rolling forward motion there and losing the lat tightness. You wanna do about 3 to 4 sets, roughly 8 to 10 repetitions, depending on the weight of the movement. Now, for this, it's an accessory movement. It's a special exercise. So you don't want to go super heavy, all right? You want to make sure that you're getting quality reps, especially if you're working in a hypertrophy range of around 8 to 12 repetitions. You can go a little bit heavier. The most I would go is probably about 5 to 6 reps. You know, nothing heavier than that on the repetitions. Keep the repetitions slightly higher, all right, for that hypertrophy and strength range. For the second one, we're gonna work into that anti-rotation, and we're gonna work on the cable here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set my feet up. Once I grab the cable, you wanna set the pulley up on a low position here so you get that rope from the bottom, all right? Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the handles. You can use a rope or you can use standard handles. I like to use a rope because I get more of a stretch and more of a contraction and full range of motion with my lat pulling my elbows back. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a longer rope here. And what you're gonna do is just step back, get some tension, and then you're gonna square up your feet facing the opposite way, right, on the side. And then all I'm doing is I'm gonna rotate and sink my hip into that position now. So now I'm loading my hip on the near side and I'm keeping my torso turned, but my hips squared up. So I'm loaded here. And then from there, I'm just gonna go ahead and, with my hands, I'm gonna go ahead and turn and rotate them and then squeeze my lat here on that, on the back side here, where I'm rotated to. What that's doing is that's shortening up the lat, allowing me to contract the muscle a lot more intensely, right? So as I shorten it up, I can squeeze and get that full peak contraction at the end range. For this, you want to do somewhere around 3 to 4 sets, roughly 8 to 12 repetitions. All right, so for the last exercise, we're going to use a TRX strap, and then we're also going to use the kettlebell here. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to go with the TRX row with a bottoms up kettlebell press. So simultaneously, we're working that contralateral side now. So now we're going to be working a row on one side and a press and working through rotation there, and also with the bottoms up position, now we're going to be working on irradiation. So we got to squeeze that kettlebell as tightly as possible. So I'm gonna take the TRX, take the kettlebell. Doesn't have to be a heavy kettlebell. This is just a 15 pounder, right? You can go, I mean, I wouldn't go super heavy with it just because, again, the real thing that we're trying to accomplish here is that row and that lat in the back. But again, what we're gonna be increasing here is that rotational power and then stability in the shoulder along with grip strength. So we're gonna be here. I'm gonna just fall back, make sure everything's tight. I'm gonna raise this kettlebell up as I come down. I'm making sure my glutes are on so I don't fall, and I'm also turning my hips forward so I don't rotate. So now you have a huge anti-rotation component in the beginning. So now I have to lock everything down with my anterior and oblique sling here. And from there, right, I'm gonna drive and row, press straight up, and then back down. So now, again, I don't wanna rotate here. I wanna stay nice and strong. So now I'm working on the obliques and then driving through. Keep my glutes on, drop through. Drop. Keep it in the hypertrophy range, 3 to 4 sets. For this one, you can do 6 to 8 repetitions on each side. All right, guys, so there you have it. Some 3 exercises, special exercises that you could utilize. Again, this isn't the end all be all. This isn't gonna be your base compound movements. This is something that you could add on to your squat, your bench, your deadlift, your overhead press. You know, those type of base compound movements that are going to enhance your entire body globally from a strength perspective. You can use this, again, if you have a strength deficit, if you have some asymmetries, right, that you wanna work on. If you have any questions, you know what to do. Hit the comments down below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the notification if you haven't done so already. Make sure you hit the like button if you like this style of video. Let me know, and I'll see you again next time. Peace.